Hi, everybody. I'm here with Robyn Watson, and we are talking about recruiter enablement. So, first of all, Robyn, give us a quick introduction to you and your background.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. I'm Robyn Watson. I have done my career in recruiting so far. So, started off in agency recruiting, moved over to corporate with Zillow, where I transitioned into the lovely recruiting operations space. So, built programs there for a number of years before doing some consulting with Gem Software. And now I'm doing recruiting enablement at another great company.
Okay, so recruiting enablement is something that, considering the length of your career and considering the length of recruiter enablement, you've got quite a lot of experience in. So, I think what I'd love to do is just talk about like how it's evolved over the time that you've been involved in this space. So,
Yeah.
give us a bit of a history lesson. What's happened? What's changed? How did it start? Where is it now?
Yeah, yeah. I think recruiting has really evolved. At first go round was HR evolving and kind of bracketing out into benefits and payroll and recruiting, and now we're kind of seeing recruiting do the same thing. Where uh, back when I first started recruiting, recruiters were doing full desks. They were doing everything from sourcing candidates, bringing them through the process, working with hiring managers, doing these projects on the side, running programs, everything and anything under the sun. And throughout my career, I've really seen it kind of splinter off a little bit so that recruiters can really have the space to do what they do best, which is work with candidates, give them a great experience, get them through the process. So back when I first started, again, I was doing all the things. When I joined Zillow, we had, I think it was maybe two individuals in the recruiting operations space, which was pretty unique at that point in time. And the team has just exploded from there. So I happened into this space because I took an interest in running an internal mobility program. I saw the pain point that my candidates and hiring managers were facing. So I worked offside my desk. I was doing sales recruiting and building out this company-wide program for a couple of years before I was actually able to really define this as a role of my own. And since then, by the time I left Zillow, I think I had a team of 12 all in the recruiting operations space, handling anything from tools to training to content management. It's just been really cool to see it explode from there. I left Zillow in 2021. And right around that time, I felt really confident leaving to take some time off to do my own thing, focus on myself for a few months, because there were so many opportunities I saw in the marketplace for talent operations, which wasn't a thing
Yeah,
prior.
sure.
So seeing that surge of opportunities to do this at different companies was really exciting to see. And I think a lot of recruiters that have a little bit more of that structural mindset have kind of shifted over into this more operational space.
Yeah. So, what do you think are the like having been um away from that for a period and then back? What's changed?
Yeah. So like I said, 2021, I stepped away for a little bit, jumped back in and did some consulting with Gem, which
Yeah.
was another unique perspective because I was working with a lot of recruiting operations teams at these companies that they were
Yes.
brand new functions.
Yes.
So really cool to work with teams trying to figure it out and set it up. Um, but since then, obviously the TA industry has seen major impacts with a lot of teams getting laid off. And I think the unique thing about that is a lot of the operational teams have been somewhat saved. Um, so you're still seeing a lot of operational roles because the
Yep.
idea is how can we do more with less? So let's keep on these operational roles. And I think that's kind of where we're at now, where there might not be a ton of opportunities right now in the TA space for recruiters. For ops individuals as well. And it's almost like an even balance of opportunities that I'm seeing between recruiter openings versus operational openings. So
Yeah.
definitely an interesting shift.
Yeah, I've said this for quite some time. I believe that there will be less in-house recruiters in the coming years. but there will, however, be more varied jobs in the talent acquisition area as people are focusing on other things which can really move the needle of success by tuning the engine as opposed to doing the running yourself.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
so I think that people who have experience in this have got a lot of future like marketability for themselves. So the you're in another like interesting organization now. The when you go into a new organization, what are the sorts of things that you might think about doing first? What are the things you might test first, or you might how'd you get started?
Yeah. I mean, as any opportunity, you want to take a look around, look under the hood a little bit, see what's going on. Some of the things that I look for are what is the tech stack? Does it have duplicates throughout it? Is it cohesive? How is it working with the business? So that's usually one place that I'll kind of start poking around in a little bit, diving into the recruiting process as well. So sitting with recruiters and going through their day to day. How many clicks are they doing? How much mental burden is their role? Are they able to find processes and talk tracks and key information for their day-to-day roles at their fingertips, or are they having to search around in a lot of different places? Um, and then working with the business as well. So other folks throughout the people organization. I usually like to tap in with the sales enablement team as well. I think that there's so much that we can learn from the learning and development team, sales enablement team to bring to ours. So if there's other stuff that's working in the business, how can I pull that through? That's usually where I'll start.
So, somebody said to me a couple of days ago, somebody who'd spent their career, most of their career, or last 5 years at least, in recruiting ops, said to me, the issue with recruiting ops is you are not always not your stakeholder is like the chief information officer and the chief financial officer, and it's all internal functions which are not recruiters. So you're doing a lot of stuff which maybe recruiters are just getting told, okay, this is how this impacts you. Whereas recruiter enablement is a completely different thing because it's like very much about okay, those individuals, how do we get those individuals doing things? And that's the kind of one person's explanation of the I hadn't thought about it like that. Does that ring true with you?
Yeah, I think we're in a unique spot, kind of middleman between the business and the recruiting team. And I think a
Yeah.
large part of our role is working with our leadership to really advocate for recruiters. Historically, recruiting has been a service organization, right? I'm a hiring manager, recruiting team, give me this candidate. But there's been a shift, and recruiting enablement and operations is a huge part of that, of really standing up our recruiters to be true business partners and consult with hiring managers and our executives to say, hey, I know you need this person right now, but I'm equipped with a lot of data, not only on our processes and how long it takes to get through where we have bottlenecks, but also on our marketplace and what the candidate talent market looks like.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, if you want to hire a individual in Kansas City for a specific type role, that we only have a pool of 1,000 candidates to look from there. So we either need to change how we're marketing or look at a different geographical location or change things up. So um, I think advocating for recruiting to the business is a big piece of what recruiting enablement and operations can help with and can see both sides of the coin of.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be diplomatic on both sides, I guess. So, the final question I want to ask you about is like, what are the kind of competencies that's going to make somebody successful? I meing, like recruiters by personality can be extremely varied in
Yep.
the way that they go about doing things. And the job of a recruiter is often like 100 different tasks, all of which are like nothing connected, not really connected to each other in terms of the skills they have to draw upon to complete them. So moving into recruiting ops, if a recruiter was interested in doing that, what are the kinds of competencies and like traits that they would need?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I've built out a couple of teams, and what I've seen really successful, um, top recruiters actually can make the transition pretty well, but they have to have the interest and the desire for it. So I've seen where we had an individual that was one of our best recruiters for a very high volume market. But to be the best in that space, she had to be very, very organized. She had to juggle 10 glass balls all at once. And she was able to make that transition really well. And I think what makes her stand out in that sense is not only was she organized and able to keep track of all of those moving pieces, but she intrinsically understood the recruiter experience. So she was really able to advocate for that throughout the various programs and projects that she was overseeing. And driving change management worked really well with that too, because the recruiting team trusted her. They knew that she's been through the mud with them. She has her back out for them. So I think organizational skills, uh, that drive to perform, having a little bit of a recruiter background, being empathetic in that sense, but also a little bit of polish too. Like we said, we're working with the business pretty extensively. So if you've worked extensively with hiring managers, you can pull that over as a transitional skill as well, just to be able to speak to the business how they want to hear things.
As you're talking, it's occurring to me that like the art of saying no is probably an important one as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, great call out. So being
Is
able to do that.
Yeah, is Zillow is the property website?
Yep. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anything
All right.
from rentals to home purchasing.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Because you said it earlier, I was like, yeah, I know that. I'm pretty certain that Zillow was one of my top 10 visited websites in 2022.
Yes.
And which might be surprising because I'm in Scotland, but I spent quite a lot of time looking at
I was gonna
properties in the
say.
USA. Yeah, I was very strongly considering a move at that time for a there was an interesting opportunity I nearly had, and it didn't turn out to be an opportunity. But I'm pretty good on what the house prices are in Chicago versus New York versus other places.
Yeah,
So
it's fun to find the different mansions on there too, and kind of go room to room and see how the other people live.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, Robin, thank you very much for your time today. You've given me loads of great information, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk recruiter enablement.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me.